Hello, fellow yappers. I'm Ruchi.
And I'm Shalini, and we're your hosts of Binge, Yap, Repeat.
We're two best friends who spend an embarrassing amount of time binge watching TV, and honestly, we just need to talk about it. If you're here, we're guessing you do too.
Fair warning, this is a spoiler-friendly zone. We will be discussing lots of spoilers. So, if you haven't watched the show yet, hit pause, go binge, and come back when you're ready to yap with us.
And now, it's yap time.
Hello.
Hey everyone, what's up?
What's up?
Suh.
It's so Friday right now.
Yeah, we chilling though, we good.
I'm so chill. I'm falling asleep over here.
Wait, do we have any oopsie doopsies or funsy onesies?
We have one funsy onesie from Sarah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So we have a funsy onesie today, a write-in from our friend Sarah. So this was from our Forever episode when we were discussing Christian and Keisha's sex tape fiasco and discussing kind of the motivations behind both of their actions and why Keisha did or did not take action or like retaliatory action against Christian. And one thing we left out completely was the race component of it all. And our friend Sarah wrote in with something really insightful, so we just wanted to share it. She said, "My take was that Keisha could understand that Christian felt pressured by the white boys to take action, which is so effed up, obviously, etc. And she definitely approached it differently. But she could understand doing something just to prove something to the white people." So, yeah, I remember him saying something along the lines of like, "Oh, it was just to show this random, like, I don't remember his name. It was to show him that, like, black girls are hot," or something like that. And she was like, "Oh, so you did it for the culture?"
Yeah.
Or something.
I think that was a good point that you brought up about like he did it for the culture, because I think even when she said, "Oh, so you did it for the culture," she was kind of like, "Really? You still did it? Like that's why you did it?" Even though it still like put me like in a compromised position. So I think even from that perspective, I understand in the moment why he did it, but I also don't think Keisha forgave him for that.
Yeah, that's true. Like,
Yeah.
she was incredulous when he said that. She was like, "That's why you did it?"
Yeah.
I don't think that's the reason she didn't take action against him, but I do think that is an important consideration for why he decided to share the video.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether or not that reason is actually justifiable or not.
Correct. Because it is not.
Exactly. Cool. Great. Well, I guess in general, if y'all as our listeners want us to cover something, or there's a show that you particularly like, or even a show that you don't know how to feel and you just want other people to watch it so you know how to feel, maybe. Just give us a shout out. We're at hello@bingeyaprepeat.com, or you can just DM us on socials. We're chronically online. So yeah.
Or if we got something wrong in an episode, also let us know and we will correct it. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. We say this in our outro as well, but we figured we'd make it more explicit.
Yeah, especially after I just got dinner with some of our friends this week and they were like, "Oh yeah, I started Binge Yap Repeat episode." And then I'm like, skip 30 seconds, skip 30 seconds, skip 30 seconds. Oh, back up 15 seconds, back up 15 seconds until our intro music is over. So, you know.
Hey, fair enough. I do that too.
Same.
Should we get started?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Étoile?
Étoile.
Étoile? Étoile.
Étoile.
Okay. I believe you. I just heard many people on the show say étoile.
Really? With an L?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
I mean, it
know.
was Americans. I don't remember what the French people said. but the
Okay,
Americans always said étoile.
all right, here, let me. Oh, can you hear that?
Nope.
Étoile.
Étoile.
I think the ending is like very subtle. Étoile. Wait, let me do it on my phone. Yeah, let's do English.
Before we say the word étoile for an entire hour.
Okay, so this is how you pronounce étoile.
Étoile.
Étoile. It sounds like 3 syllables.
Étoile. Yeah, like, but the third
Étoile.
syllable is like half the length of the first two.
Étoile.
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 I'm gonna say étoile.
I'm gonna say étoile.
Just
Okay.
omitting letters for no reason.
That's the French way. Étoile.
You don't speak French? Étoile.
You know what? I just won't say it.
Okay.
Okay, so all right, today we're talking about Étoile. It's a new
You
comedy.
already said it.
I know. It's a new comedy series from Amy Sherman-Palladino and Daniel Palladino, which is the duo behind Gilmore Girls, Shalini fangirling, and The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It premiered on Amazon Prime Video on April 24th, 2025. And the premise of the show is pretty fun. So there's basically 2 legendary ballet companies, the Metropolitan Ballet Theater in New York and Le Ballet National in Paris. They are struggling to stay afloat, so they decide to shake things up by swapping some of their best dancers for a season. Étoile.
Étoile.
So my fun fact about étoile is that it translates to star in English, but it can refer to the celestial body star, but it also refers to the principal dancer in a ballet company.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if it's a common term because they were really throwing that word around a lot. Like it wasn't just a symbol for what Cheyenne represented. It was also, they were like, but you're an étoile.
Yeah, I think it's like a ballet term. It's like the principal dancer is l'étoile. I am so sorry, you guys. I took Spanish in high school. So,
Same.
La Estrella.
That's what the show's called.
Fun fact about La Estrella. It was,
You mean the taqueria in
Yes.
Pasadena?
yes, the taqueria in Pasadena that we loved going to, and I loved their quesadillas.
Oh my
Shout out
God,
to La Estrella.
4 a.m. quesadillas really hit so hard in
They
college.
hit hard. They filled that hole in my heart, literally, and made another one. All right, Shalini, what are your overall thoughts?
This show very much grew on me. I think the first 2 episodes, I just wasn't in the rhythm of it. I feel like Amy Sherman Palladino's shows always have a rhythm and it takes a little bit to get into it. But once I was in, I was so in, and I loved all the quirky characters. I love Cheyenne. I love Tobias. I love Mishi, and yeah, it was just all the characters are so lovable. I found myself actually, so we watched this show over the course of probably a week or so. I was like, I really want to spend more time just like watching and rewatching this show. I feel like it has a lot of rewatch potential just because it has that quick banter where on your first watch, you probably pick up 50 to 60% of it. And then if you go back and rewatch, you'll pick up so much more. So it has like really fun banter, beautiful dancing. I loved watching all of the ballet sequences and performances. And yeah, pretty compelling story. At first, I was like, this seems like a silly concept. I don't see the point of this, but I ended up really, really liking it. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with you in terms of the pacing. I think it took a little bit for me to get into the story, but also to like get into the characters themselves. I don't know why, but the first time that we saw Cheyenne and she was Cheyenne?
Cheyenne.
Cheyenne.
Yeah, people pronounced it both ways.
Okay, Cheyenne. So when we first saw Cheyenne, she was on the boat and she was kind of shouting at those eco warriors, being like, "You guys are pussies! Like you can't even, like fight back against these big fishing companies that are destroying our environment and going on her tirade. I don't know why, but felt like she wasn't I felt like she was acting. You know what I mean? I was
Mm.
not really convinced by that performance, but over the course of the season, I was like, oh, this is okay. Now I understand. I understand her personality a lot more because I think whenever people just talked about her, she was this ethereal dance figure. But then when we first saw her, she obviously wasn't. So I think that that whiplash got me a little bit, like rattled me a little bit. But then over the course of the season, she grew on me. I will say though, I really liked the A storylines and the B storylines with the different characters like Tobias and Nicholas and everything. But then there were also C storylines that I felt did not get a lot of love, and as a result, I kind of just forgot about them until they came up again randomly. So the Susu storyline, which kicked off the show, I totally forgot about her until she came back the second time. I was like, oh yeah, like there's this girl here. And then also the two American guys who also got traded to the French company. I totally forgot about them until they had that next scene where they were like drunk in Paris or something. And I was like, oh yeah, those guys are there too. And then they were never mentioned again.
Never saw them again.
Yeah, so I think when I was reminded that there were even more storylines that weren't like really being fleshed out, I was like, oh, that's weird. But I really enjoyed the A and B storylines, so I think that more than made up for it.
I want to respond to what you said about the first time we see Cheyenne. And yeah, she's like dressed in really bulky clothing. She's talking in a deep voice. She's on this fishing boat, like so antithetical to what anyone pictures as a ballerina.
Mhm.
I agree that was very jarring, and I was like, who the fuck is this? And then I was like, oh, this is the Étoile. This is the Étoile. But I do like that the show kind of turned everyone's impression of ballerinas on its head a little bit, where like Cheyenne is this bold, kind of masculine, loud, rude person, and um, whereas you think of a ballerina as like really demure and petite and ethereal and like perfect, and she was just like so imperfect and so just uninhibited. So I really liked that about the show. And then my the other thing I wanted to say about Cheyenne is that the actress I read did not know English before this show. Oh yeah, did you see that too?
I did see,
That
yeah,
is
that was one of my fun facts.
so impressive. So impressive to me that she not only learned English but acted in English for the show. Crazy.
Yeah, so good. I feel like that gave her an air of authenticity. So I'm actually really glad that they put her in that position where she had like this really, really thick French accent. Another fun fact about this actress, her name is uh, Lou Delage. And so okay, yeah, so the actress's name is Lou Delage, and she not only had to relearn English, but she had to relearn ballet a little bit. But also, the person dancing ballet is not her, it's a body double, a
Mm.
dance double. So that person is Constance Duvernay Lawrence, and she is a principal ballet dancer in London and New York and Paris. So whenever there are shots of Cheyenne dancing, it's Constance who is the body double.
Interesting. And was Lou Delage, is she also a ballerina? She just hasn't danced in a while?
I don't think she was ever a ballerina. I think she's first and foremost an actress. I think she
Oh,
took ballet lessons when she was younger, and so she kind of knew the basics, but yeah, she didn't like she wasn't a ballet dancer.
hmm.
Yeah.
You know what? There were some scenes where I was like, is that Cheyenne? I can't even tell who's dancing right now. But I guess it wasn't her, even though, I mean, it was her character that was dancing, but it wasn't Lou Delage.
Yeah, that's very perceptive of you because I did not clock that. Because the only reason I did this is because I was like, oh, is this actress actually a ballerina dancer? She's so good. And then I looked her up and it's like, oh,
No.
no. And I only learned that after I'd finished watching the whole show.
Okay.
Yeah, rip.
Nice.
I felt like there were a lot of conversations that were happening between two French people, two French characters in this show that were happening in English. And then I was confused. I was like, why are these two French-speaking characters talking to each other in English? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I noticed that Mishi did this a lot, and Genevieve also did this a lot. And so I don't know, did you clock that? What were your
I
thoughts on that?
did. I noticed that too. You know, at first, okay, I guess I'll touch on Mishi first. Yeah, I was wondering, I have theories for why both of them. Was it just the two of them? I'm sure there were more times than just that.
I'm sure there
Um,
were more, but I know that it happened multiple times with those two and
okay.
often with each other. So I was
Oh
not,
yeah.
yeah.
So with Mishi, I was wondering if she was maybe just like clinging as hard as she could to her life in New York and just using her American English as much as possible to because she obviously missed New York so much. That's my
Yeah.
theory about her. In reality, I think they didn't want too much French in the show. That's why they did it. But
Yeah.
these are the theories that I will choose to believe.
That
So yeah, that's for Mishi.
that's what I thought too.
Um,
I was like, okay, I guess they didn't want like more than half the show to be in French, I guess.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Oh,
And
I wanted
then
to talk about Mishi in New York, but yeah, you haven't
oh,
talked.
oh, okay, okay. Yeah, then for Genevieve, so she kind of had a British accent, right? So I was like, oh, is she supposed to be someone who grew up in England but then moved to France and learned French but still prefers English? And I was wondering if that was kind of the story behind her character. But then we meet her sister and she has a completely different accent. She's like extremely French. So then
Mm.
I was like, why does she and her sister have different accents?
Maybe it's because Genevieve probably spent a lot of time internationally as a result of her job, and so she kind of had this like mishmash of an accent. I feel like I know
Maybe.
some people like that who they're kind of from all over the place, but they spend extended time in a bunch of different countries, and so their accent becomes super like a weird mishmash of
Mm,
things that you're like, I don't know, you're not American, but I don't exactly know where you're from. I think it was kind of like that.
okay. Do they talk about her past jobs before Ballet National? Okay. Okay. But presumably, yeah, she probably spent some time in London, maybe New York, because she and Jack have a history.
Yeah. Yeah, so I
All
guess
right.
that's how she got like a kind of British, kind of American accent, just layered on top of her French accent.
Okay. Okay. Because I was kind of like, this is bad casting if these two sisters have completely different accents. But okay, I could believe that.
Yeah, I buy it. I buy it.
I buy
Um,
it because the sister had the super French accent and she had the more mishmashed accent. If it was
yeah.
opposite, I'd be like, why'd they cast her?
Yeah, that's true. I think I agreed. I agreed with that. Okay, yeah, I wanted to talk about Mishi in New York.
Yeah, let's talk about Mishi in general.
Oh my God, I cringed so hard when Mishi was hanging out with that French group of friends, and she was trying to impress this guy who asked her out. And they're like, oh, we love Brooklyn, go honest. And then she's like, let's go honest. And then they're like, don't you know anything about Brooklyn? Weren't you in New York? And she was like, I was on Upper West Side. I was like, excuse me, elitist. But then when she was like Wikipediaing the like Brooklyn and then came up with those fun facts, I was cringing so hard.
I also cringed so hard. To be fair, I don't think her not going to Brooklyn was an elitist thing at all. I think
Yeah.
she legitimately did not realize how far it was because she never bothered to try leaving the Upper West Side.
Yeah, and that's what they explored by the end of the season, right? They were like, a ballet dancer's life is literally just ballet. That's all they
Yeah.
do. That's all they think about. So I think from that lens, I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense that what she was like what, 19 in New York?
Yeah, something like
Super
that.
young, right? Super young, only hung out in Upper West Side, didn't really go to Brooklyn, didn't even hear about going to Brooklyn. I totally get it. The only reason I
Yeah.
know about Gowanus is because that's where the climbing gym was.
Is Gowanus a part of Brooklyn?
Yeah. It was
Okay.
like I lived in downtown Brooklyn and it was like a 20-minute walk south of me. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like very warehousey. So there was there's like a lot of random art galleries and there's a lot of random climbing gyms. And there was also like this archery place in Gowanus
Hmm.
and a canal. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that scene, I was like, oh, baby Mishi, you don't have a life. It was so
Yeah.
sad. And she was just realizing, she's like, wow, people like really live lives, and I'm just doing ballet. When she had that
Yeah.
realization, when they're like showing the video of Timeo's climbing that thing or whatever,
Yeah.
and she's like, oh, like people are out here doing things. People drink beer.
Yeah.
Oh, my heart. And then she was clearly so sheltered by her parents also. And yeah, I think her living with Cheyenne's mom just kind of taught her about the grunginess of real life. Grunginess of real life, yes.
I loved how Cheyenne's mom, like, she was obviously made harder by Cheyenne's mom, and then Cheyenne's mom was made softer. They kind of molded each other a little bit. I thought that was so cute. They were actually my favorite relationship.
So sweet.
Yeah. And then Cheyenne being super jealous when she was like, "You saw her dance?"
You saw her dance. She got a key. I never got a key. You made her. You fixed her bed.
Yeah, the princess bed. She.
See me.
Yeah. I'm thinking about Mishi's parents, how they kind of just, yeah, treated her like a doll. Just a dancing
Totally.
doll.
100% treated her like a dancing doll. Oh, Mishi's drunken speech was so cringe also. I was like, oh no, girl, stop. And she was like, the bar boy with the cute butt asked me if I want an olive or a twist. I don't even know what that means. I was like, oh girl, stop talking.
Oh my God, I know. Also, wait, she was like, yeah, I don't even know what that means. Thanks, Mom. I was like, considering where you are right now, I feel like your mom actually would have taught you that of all things.
Like when you're out at a function like this, always ask for an olive, not a twist. Yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about Tobias.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about Tobias.
I love Tobias. I think he's my favorite character.
I liked him, then I loved him, and then I started to find him irritating.
Yeah,
So
that's accurate.
yeah, I think when Tobias hopped up on stage and was like, "This is not my dance, like we have to redo everything, like this is so stupid." It was like that, and also when he hopped on stage after piece one, in the New York Ballet and was like, "Why did you do it this way? If I knew that you were gonna be the dancer, I would have done it this way." I was like, I think there is a balance to be struck here about being so much of a creative genius that you need to have things a certain way, but also understanding that at the end of the day, like it's the audience experience that sells the tickets. And like I guess hopping up on the stage in the Les Ballets National, I like that ended up having a really positive effect where people kind of came and it was a whole spectacle of things. I don't know if it sold more tickets, but
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly extremely eccentric. I'm pretty sure they wrote him to be on the spectrum.
yeah.
And yeah, so I think there was no way he was going to care about what sells tickets, you know? Like, he is there to create the best art he can create, and he does not give a fuck what's selling tickets.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. He actually kind of reminded me, well, we'll get into the Gilmore Girls portion, but he kind of reminded me of Paris, if you remember
Yes.
Paris Geller from Gilmore Girls. Like, she's just this very extreme, eccentric personality that in real life would be so annoying. But on the show, you witness the eccentricity without having to deal with it yourself, and you see these little humanizing moments, and you're like, Tobias, Paris, my little heart's breaking for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess that's true, but I think the reason that I felt irritated is that Cheyenne was also that personality, right? Super eccentric, but a creative genius, and also very abrasive. And so I think there was like maybe two
Too
scenes
much of it.
back to back of like, oh, this person is super abrasive. She's right, but the way that she does it is wrong. And then it was Tobias, and it was like, oh, Tobias is right, but the way that he does it is wrong. And I was like, okay, I get it. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of why I felt a little bit irritated, because it was just like the two of them kind of railroading other people in their lives.
Yeah, that's very fair. It was, we kind of got it from both sides, the New York side and the Paris side, and it was like, okay, we get it. Ballet has some crazies.
Yeah. One thing that I really laughed at though was Tobias standing in the line of the boulangerie, Les Boulangeries. He was standing in line, and then Genevieve was like, "Why are you standing in this line?" And he was like, "Because we like standing in lines." I forget what was Genevieve's partner's, Lucian or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, her assistant.
Not her assistant, the other guy with the short hair
Oh,
who took over for her.
yeah. I know his real name and I know his character in Gilmore Girls, but I don't know his name in this show. But it was Yannick Truesdale who plays Michelle on Gilmore Girls.
He plays Raphael. So Raphael said, "Oh, so it's true." And it is so true. People in New York love standing in lines.
Okay, I'll input another Gilmore Girls fact here, but I feel like Amy Sherman-Palladino loves this trope of New Yorkers standing in line, because in Gilmore Girls A Year in the Life, there's this scene where Rory is in New York and she sees this huge line of people, and she's a journalist, so she starts interviewing one of them, and then she like stays there all night, and then in the morning she leaves the line, and as she walks to the front, it's like two guys just eating on a stoop, and she's like, "What are you guys in line for?" And they're like, "Nothing. We're just eating lunch." And she's like, "Should we tell them that they're not standing in line for anything?" Yeah.
That seems a little ridiculous, but
Yeah, definitely. Definitely just like taking it to the extreme, which we know the creators of this show love to do.
yeah.
Okay, back to Tobias. There were a few lines of his that I thought were so funny. Let's see which ones I wrote down. In episode 4, I just wrote, "I love Tobias."
Oh, I have a fun fact about Tobias's ex.
Oh, his ex. Oh, Jonathan Groff, who plays
Jonathan-
Kristoff.
Yeah, Jonathan Groff cameo. He's actually also on Broadway right now. He's on the show called Just in Time, and he is co-starring with Gracie Lawrence of Lawrence fame.
Oh, cool.
Listeners, I have been a huge fan of Lawrence the Band for like, I don't know, 10 years now, something crazy. And I have had the pleasure of seeing Gracie rise as a star from being like an unknown person in Lawrence and to now starring in Secret Lives of College. Wait, was it?
Sex Lives of
Sex-
College Girls.
Not Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Oh, her life took a turn.
Yes, Sex Lives of College Girls, and now Just in Time, which is a Broadway show that she got a Tony nomination for.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Funny seeing Jonathan Groff there.
Yeah, Jonathan Groff. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know him primarily from Glee, but then I know he's also the voice of Kristoff in Frozen.
And he's in Hamilton.
Oh, okay. I like the original
Yeah. He's
soundtrack, or yeah.
King George. He's the guy
Oh, yeah.
I'll be back before we do. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I don't know the songs, but okay. Okay, cool. I was like, okay. But yeah, the whole time he was speaking, I love his voice so much. He has the most beautiful, even speaking voice is so beautiful. And like the whole time, all I could hear was, "People smell better than reindeers. Sven, don't you think I'm right?" You know that song he said?
Yeah.
That's once again true for all except you.
She's still going.
Okay, I'm done.
What's after that?
That's true. Let's call it a night.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
night. Don't let the frost bite. Bite.
Aw. But are you a singer?
Oh my god. Yeah, okay. Well, one really funny line from the last episode that I remember is when he has his huge blow up during the performance and stops the music and jumps on the stage and he's like, "Stop ushering. Your ticket literally tells you where to sit. What are you even here for?"
Oh my god, I feel that way all the time, especially on airplanes. Like, we all, like, we're all flying United or something. I was like, we all have a seat, you guys. Like, there's no need to push.
Yeah, also like when the flight attendant makes you show them your boarding pass as you're entering the plane, it's like, I know where I'm going. You don't need to know where I'm going. I've already been let onto this plane.
Sometimes people do look at your seat assignment to make sure that you should be in like the row closest to the door or like the far away row, right?
The like left side aisle or the right side aisle.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But when it's a one aisle plane.
But when it's a one-hour plane, there's no need. I agree. So forever?
True.
So Ginny and Georgia is crazy. Okay. Eva, even her coach, side character Eva.
Who's Eva?
I think she was the principal dancer for the New York ballet, and then she like froze on stage, and then she had to get a therapist, and now her therapist is just like there as her shadow.
Oh, her. Oh yeah. Wait, I feel like we stopped seeing her after episode 3 or 4.
You see what I mean? It's these storylines that we see them. Maybe they're just comic relief. I don't think the Susu one was comic relief, but even then, it felt like there was large gaps between big things that happened in the C storylines that you just forgot about them, and you're like, oh yeah, that guy. Oh yeah, that girl. Forgot about her.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Eva and her coach. I forgot about that too.
Yeah. I actually wrote this down. I was like, there are so many unprofessional moments of people being on stage when they're not supposed to. Eva and her coach, Tobias hopping up on stage, but I guess that turned into a good thing. Cheyenne going up, Jack and Nicholas specifically scootering across the entire length of the stage to get off the stage before the curtains came up. I was like, come on, you know better than this.
So funny. Yeah, you're the artistic director of the Metropolitan Ballet Theater, sir.
Come on. Okay, I have other fun facts. Oh, there is an influencer that I actually recognize who was part of the cast. Did you know him?
Alex Wong?
Yes, it was Alex Wong.
I noticed him too.
I'm sad they didn't really give him any screen time. I just saw him in the background. I was like, I know that guy.
Wait, is that yeah, he had one line, I think. Unless I dreamed it.
You're
I think
right.
He had one line.
I think Cheyenne was mean to him or something.
Yeah, something like that. It was like one line in episode 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah, then it was gone. Then he left, and we just saw him in the background again.
Taping his feet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Jack's relationship with the ballet. Wait, actually, do you want to talk about Crispin Chamblée?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
What a guy. What a guy. First of all, what a name. Crispin Chamblée.
Seriously, what is he, Willy Wonka's grandson?
And then his character, he was also very eccentric. And his character, I was like, are they trying to introduce some sort of sci-fi component to the show? You know when Jack walks into that restaurant and there are 3 or 4 Crispin Chamblées around the restaurant, and then
I thought
the
that
real
was a
Crispin's
dream
like, "Come here, come here."
sequence.
I think that was real.
Yeah, no, like it
Oh,
was
okay.
real in the end, but when it was happening, I was like, is this a dream sequence? Because Jack is just like seeing Crispin everywhere, and then I was like, this is real?
So weird. And then
Yeah.
I was like, oh, is this show set in the future? But then they show a date and it's 2024. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, that part. And then when he's talking to Cheyenne and then he's like, are those girls bothering you? And then he just presses a button on his watch and then this guy comes and shoos the girls away. I was like, is that a robot?
Wait, so I had a question for you. Why was Crispin Chamblée so interested in the ballet?
I read an article in the New York Times about this show, and they were trying to portray him as, oh my gosh, I forget the guy's name, but it was another person who existed in real life who made his money through questionable means, but once he had a bunch of money, he poured almost all of it back into the arts. So I think Crispin's character was someone who legitimately really loved ballet and he just loved the arts. Like he was in a ballet class, you know? Like
Yeah.
he loves it. That's what he decided to spend his money on because he loved it so much.
What do you think about the ethics behind that? Because I think if someone made money from questionable means, but I was the principal of some ballet theater and I was struggling, and this person just wanted to give me tons and tons of dirty money, I guess, would you accept?
If I needed money,
Yeah.
if I was in dire need of money, yeah, I feel like beggars can't be choosers, you know?
That's how I feel too. I feel like if this person is giving you so much money to fund the arts and keep the arts going, do you really have a say in how that money was made?
Yeah, I mean, you can decline, I guess, but like risk the health and longevity of the ballet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. It reminds me in business school I took a class called corporate diplomacy and it was all about how corporations can use their money to influence different parts of the world and the communities in various parts of the world. A huge theme was should ESG investors, so ESG stands for environmental, social, and corporate governance, should investors that are like usually quite philanthropic in, I guess, morals, invest in companies like the Shell Corporation, which is a huge fossil fuel company. But if they stay invested, they have influence over Shell and they could turn the company for better. But if they completely divest, then Shell loses power because it has less money. And so it kind of reminded me of that, where like, do you accept money from this questionable source with the risk of having your operations changed and having the kind of heart of the ballet changed? Or do you say no to this money, but then risk the ballet not existing? So I don't
Yeah.
know. Very complicated. I don't know. If I was in Jack's position, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like, sure, Crispin just wants to change the name of the theater, but like at the beginning of the season, that wasn't on the table. At the beginning of the season, it was like, oh, let's just do this and I'll give you money so that you can continue to fund your programs. And then it was like, oh, and now we'll just change the name of the building, even though it was named after your great grandmother. And then next, it's like, well, let's fund all of the terrible things that are going on and let's like host government people that we hate as a
Yeah.
nation.
We saw how much power he has over Jack. He just mentioned the name Cheyenne for the artistic director position, and suddenly Jack was like, damn it, I have to do it. And it's like, what? Did you have to do that?
But I don't think Jack had to do it because Crispin said it. I think Jack had to do it because he knew that she actually was the best person for the job after Nicholas.
Maybe, maybe. Do you think that's why he was like, damn it, you're in my head? Because I read that as he doesn't even realize how much power Crispin has over his decisions. But yeah, maybe it was more like he was in that moment realizing how perfect Cheyenne would be for that role.
That's how I read it. I think he really hated that Crispin was right because he really hates Crispin, and Crispin was like, well, why not Cheyenne? She's the best person for the role. And then he thought about it and he was like, considering this list of people, he's honestly right. Cheyenne is the best person for the role, which sucks because Crispin doesn't even know this industry or the world and what's going on. He was just upset that Crispin was right. I did have another fun fact.
Ooh.
This is from a time.com article from Olivia B. Waxman. And apparently, so while Étoile itself is not officially based on a true story, there actually was an exchange of ballet dancers between the US and the Soviet Union. So, US and Soviet companies in the late 1950s and early 1960s during the Cold War, basically.
Whoa! That's so cool. So do you think the show was kind of based on that? Do you think they drew inspiration from that?
Yeah, I think maybe, which is also what makes Crispin Chamblée an interesting character because he represents this capitalist entrepreneur who profited from war essentially, and he's channeling money into the arts. But I guess the counterpoint is that this exchange between the US and the Soviet companies actually kind of did the opposite, where they were saying, oh, in spite of this Cold War going on between the US and the Soviet Union, we can still enjoy the arts. We can still have a peaceful exchange of ballet dancers to bring us closer together in spite of this horrific war that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that
Whoa.
exchange was taken really positively. And the other interesting part is that they didn't just exchange like 3 or 4 dancers. It was like they exchanged like 50 dancers to 100 dancers. So like large swaths of ballet dancers were actually exchanged.
Wow. That actually reminds me of something that I read, I think in the same New York Times article about this show that I didn't quite pick up on, but maybe I like subconsciously picked up on it. But the fact that the Metropolitan Ballet Theater in New York is a corporation, but the Ballet National in Paris is a government-run entity.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good point. I
I
didn't
didn't
think
realize
that.
that. And maybe that's why the New York one turned into the Chamblée Theater, and it felt like Crispin had his talons in the New York theater a little bit more than he did in the French theater. Um, and then in the French theater, Geneviève was way less in charge of things than Jack was, even though they had the same job. But like she was kind of at the mercy of, I guess, the board, which was comprised of government people. I don't
Yeah.
know, but yeah.
But Jack was at the mercy of the board too, in some ways. I think I agree with you. He did have more of a command on the board. He just kind of was at the mercy of Crispin specifically.
Yeah.
But I wanted to add to this. Okay, so the whole premise of the show is that they would swap the top talent for more ticket sales, bring ballet back to life, whatever. Do you think this was actually a success? Because from what I saw, I think it was maybe a mild success, but I also thought that the French side of things got a really raw deal.
I was thinking that too, especially when Tobias ran up on stage. I was like, dude, the French people are really suffering with this with this swap. Because yeah, okay, let's take stock. The US got Cheyenne. Who else did they get?
So soon.
Okay, maybe all they got was Cheyenne.
I think all they got was Cheyenne.
Okay, but Cheyenne was cooperative. She took on so many roles. She went to all of these events that Jack just asked her to go to, like her birthday party, and mingled, did that interview, where she talked about how when that little girl was like, "What would you have done?" And she was like, "Dancing was my only option." So she was so cooperative. And then, okay, who did the French get? They got
Tobias.
Tobias, who's a hot
Mishi.
mess.
Yeah.
Mishi, who's a
Those
good
two.
dancer, but everyone hates her.
Yeah. Those 2 random guys.
Those two actual hot messes who all we see of them is them passed out in costume.
Beavis and Butthead.
Yes. Beavis and Butthead.
So
Ah.
yeah, so I guess the American team only got Cheyenne, but she was such an asset versus the French basically got
Some liabilities.
yeah. Okay, Okay, so now that we took stock, going back to the original question, do you think that this was a success, the swap?
I do think at the end they tried to show that Tobias's weird final performance thing where he live choreographed did turn into a success because it was getting a lot of media attention. Yes?
But did it turn into ticket sales? Because a lot of those people were just outside of the
Standing
theater
around.
live streaming.
I guess more publicity will lead to more ticket sales. But they didn't really show the conclusion of that where it's like, oh, suddenly ticket sales have gone up. Yay, we're happy.
Yeah.
The end. Yeah.
To be fair though, I think putting the premise of the show aside, I think the show itself did make me want to go see a ballet show, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. Oh, I have so much respect for dancers. Oh my goodness.
I would not want to watch what they showed at the very end of the episode where that guy was like, I married myself. I'm very happy together. And then Cheyenne was like dancing by herself. I would not want to watch
Interpretive
that.
dance. You want to watch like choreographed, a bunch of people on stage, classical music, fun costumes.
I want to watch the Nutcracker, honestly.
Yeah, I want to watch the Nutcracker too. Yeah, my hometown had this dance studio, Kappa, which a lot of my friends took dance lessons at. And they put on the Nutcracker every single year. And in my 13 years of living there, I don't think I ever went to go see it.
Shalini.
I know. I saw their summer performances, but yeah, for some reason I never saw the Nutcracker. Now I really want to see the Nutcracker.
Yeah, me too. In my 3 years of living in New York, I really wanted to go see the opera, but never got a chance. And now I'm like, dang, now I really want to see the opera and I really want to see ballet. But I did see the Rockettes, so
Nice.
that was
Nice.
I did something.
Consolation
Contributed to the
prize.
arts.
You saw a lot of Broadway.
I did see a lot of Broadway. Yeah, thousands of dollars.
You definitely contributed to the arts in New York.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of being a patron of the arts, another fun fact. In episode 8, Genevieve says that Ina Garten was there in the audience, who we know as the Barefoot Contessa.
Oh.
Remember in our With Love Megan episode, I was like, I
Yeah,
wish
she's
she
the
was
one
more...
with the home baker.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I wish Meghan Markle was more like Barefoot Contessa because she was so warm and inviting.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, we referenced her in our very first episode, and now she was called out as being part of as being a patron of the arts.
Amazing. Wow,
Yeah.
come full circle. All right.
Okay.
Oh, when we see Genevieve go to her sister's place and we see them arguing for the first time, did you think they were a married couple?
Yes, I did.
I did too.
I did. Was that intentional?
I don't know. It took them a while to reveal that, because then then her sister at one point was like, I have a husband and 3 kids. And I was like, what? You have a husband? Who's that? Like, who are you to her then?
That's exactly what I thought too. I was like, oh, okay, it's not just a friend because they're like fighting like their family, so they must be married. And then it's Pride Month, y'all.
Yeah. Our first assumption is that they're married, rightfully so. Oh, okay. Some funny lines from the show when Genevieve and Jack are, I think, watching that ballet movie that they both kind of announce on stage and then they go into the audience. But then they're talking the entire movie, and then at one point someone's just like, "Can you two shut the fuck up?" I don't know why I found that so funny.
Dude, I agree. I honestly get anxiety anytime they show any character talking during a movie in any show or movie. I'm like, stop. I feel the same anxiety when any character is driving and then they look over to the next person and start talking and making eye contact with them. I'm like, I get so much anxiety. Yeah, I'm like,
Accident's happening.
Eyes on the road. Eyes on the road. 10 and 2. 10 and 2.
Yes. Oh, okay, another line. These are just like so quintessential Amy Sherman-Palladino rants. It's in the French ballet. One of the female ballerinas is complaining, I think it's about Tobias or it's about Gabon, And she's like, this is like my sister's wedding all over again. I had to wear peach. I won't wear peach again. And like went on this rant about having to wear peach at her sister's wedding.
I remember that because she had like the big bonnet thing.
Yeah. That was another line. And then when they were, oh my God, when they were watching reels of Cheyenne's past interviews, and Jack's like, oh no, she's so bad. And then you see one interview where the guy's like, do you ever worry about repeating yourself? And she's like, fuck you, I don't know, next question.
PR training style.
Yeah. Okay, I think those are all of my funny lines.
I think we can probably talk about the Gilmore Girls stuff.
Unleash me. So, yappers, as you know, I am a huge Gilmore Girls fan. I've watched all the seasons many times. I've listened to the Gilmore Guys podcast a few times. And so I know a lot about Amy Sherman-Palladino and Daniel Palladino's style, who also created Gilmore Girls. So I guess I'll just start with kind of the theme of dance. So Amy Sherman-Palladino has created 3 shows now which heavily feature dance. It's Bunheads, which was her show that she started right after Gilmore Girls, which was also about a ballet studio, and then Étoile. And honestly, I haven't watched Marvelous Ms. Maisel, so I don't know if there's a lot of dance featured in that one. No.
Not really. It is more about the comedy.
Okay. Yeah, so after this show came out, I was like, oh my gosh, another ballet show? What is Amy Sherman-Palladino's connection to ballet?
She's a bunhead.
She is a bunhead. She got that big old bun. But yeah, she did dance for a very long time during her childhood, and she, in an interview I read, was just like, dance is such an interesting world. It's really not the world that other shows and movies depict it as. Like, she used Tiny Pretty Things as an example, which was, I think, a Netflix show from sometime during the pandemic, I want to say. It was a drama set in a ballet studio, like kind of Ginny and Georgia vibes, but in a ballet studio. And she was like, it's not just these like pretty ethereal things and then like suddenly there's a murder. It's so much weirder than that. And so she's always like wanted to express just the weirdness of the dance world in television format. So I would say Bunheads, that was a show that got canceled after 1 season, and fans loved it, but critics hated it, which was really strange. But yeah, I tried watching that show about a year ago, and I couldn't really get into it. I think they were trying to kind of capture that small town magic of Gilmore Girls, but like in a different setting. But it kind of felt like a lot of the charm was unearned in a way that they spent so much time developing in Gilmore Girls. It's like, oh, you come to love the town and you love Luke and you love, all of the townies and everything. But then in Bunheads, it felt like but the show was kind of forcing you to love these characters that you had not bonded with yet. I think that was my issue with it, and it moved very slowly, but so does Gilmore Girls, and I didn't have a problem with that. So I don't know why I couldn't really get into Bunheads.
But the good news is that Étoile will have a second season. It's been
yay!
Yeah. So
oh my gosh.
Prime Video ordered the show for 2 seasons when it was picked up in 2023. Just kept going. Okay, so literally the day after we finished recording the Étoile episode, like the morning of, I woke up to a Google notification saying that Étoile was canceled by Prime Video, even though Amazon had given it a 2-season order. It was canceled after the first season, and I woke up to that Google notification literally the day after we recorded our episode. So sad, so heartbreaking.
No season 2.
Well, we have theories about what may happen in season 2, and yeah, come up with your own, because there ain't gonna be season 2.
Whatever theory you have, yappers, that is the truth now.
That's
canon.
Truth. Protect your truth. Protect your peace. Don't let Amazon Prime get you down.
And with that, back to the episode. And then, I guess in Gilmore Girls, the connection to dance there. So in the town, there's this character named Miss Patty who runs a dance studio. And in almost every kind of panning of the town where you see the entire town and someone's like walking by the whole town, they always pass Miss Patty's studio and she's like teaching a ballet class to little girls and they're in like an apple outfit or in their tutus and dancing. So yeah, she always had some sort of dance aspect to it. And then one particular episode was the dance marathon episode. The episode title is They Shoot Gilmores, Don't They? Which I know just off the top of my head for absolutely no reason. Anyway, it's season 3.
They shoot Gilmores?
Yeah, it's the episode title is They Shoot Gilmores, Don't They? Which is never said in the actual episode. It's a reference to, I believe, some movie that just has a dance marathon in it. And the only connection to that movie is that there is also a dance marathon in this episode.
Huh?
Yeah, anyway, unimportant. It's an episode in season 3. And in that episode, there is a dance marathon for the town of Stars Hollow. And there's a really cool dance sequence at the beginning of the dance marathon where they show like all of the dancers dancing. And it's all this like really beautifully choreographed thing. And fun fact, it was choreographed by Kenny Ortega, who also choreographed High School Musical.
Wow.
Okay, so some other similarities to Gilmore Girls. Obviously, anyone who's watched Gilmore Girls, there were a lot of overlapping actors. So the actor that plays Raphael, who's Genevieve's right-hand man, his name is Yannick Truesdale. He played, of course, Michelle Girard in Gilmore Girls. Kelly Bishop, who plays Jack's mom, is Emily Gilmore, one of the main characters.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I heard her voice and I was like, yes, Kelly Bishop, she's here.
Wow.
Then there was one guy who was on the board of the Metropolitan Ballet Theater. I don't know his real name, but he plays Headmaster Charleston, who is Rory's high school principal.
Deakin Matthews?
Yes, Deakin Matthews.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like,
was on the board.
It's just an empty chair. You know, it doesn't mean anything. That guy. Yeah.
That guy. Yep. And then there were 2 actors that I read were in Marvelous Miss Maisel, but I did not watch that show. So there honestly might have been more. There's Luke Kirby, who plays the main character on this show, Jack. Was he the main male lead in Marvelous Miss Maisel?
Well, there were a couple main leads.
Okay. The other main one is Gideon Glick, who plays Tobias, was also in Marvelous Miss Maisel and plays Alfie, who is a magician? Question mark?
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. And I read that they initially had not cast him as Tobias, but he was involved in the writing process of the character Tobias, and then they were like, you should just do it.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So Luke Kirby plays Lenny Bruce in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Yes, so he is one of the main leads. I didn't recognize him because in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, his hair is like super slicked back, and in this show, he has like so much hair and it's really curly, so I didn't recognize him. But yeah. Ah, okay.
Okay, cool. And then the last 3 similarities or parallels. Episode 8 of Étoile, they reference Rosemary's Baby, and there's like a very famous scene from Gilmore Girls that references Rosemary's Baby when Rory meets Dean for the very first time, and she's like, God, you're like Ruth Gordon just standing there, make a noise. And then he's like, Rosemary's Baby. And she stands up and she's like, what? And that's how they meet. Yeah, you know, just 2 16-year-olds referencing Rosemary's Baby in the year 2000.
As one does.
Another one, this happened in episode 1 of Étoile, I think. There I think it was when they were talking about the champagne glasses going missing, and they're like, the what are the costs? What do the costs cost? Costs cost. And they like had that banter
Yeah.
about the phrase costs cost. It very much reminded me of this episode in Gilmore Girls where they're in a town meeting and the town selectman Taylor is mad because this man opens a farmer's market right across the store from his grocery store. And he's like, this man does not have the right permits. He needs a cart kiosk permit. And everyone's like, Taylor, why'd you say it twice? Yeah, you said cart kiosk. And then Rory and Lorelai are like, it's repetitive and redundant. It's repetitive and redundant. Another very famous scene from Gilmore Girls.
Okay, not gonna lie, that would annoy me so much.
Wait, what part about that would annoy you?
Like this scene, because I feel like cart kiosk is like obviously a repetitive thing, and then that like someone writes in that is unnatural for someone to say, and then Rory and Lorelai kind of like making fun of that by also repeating all of their sentences. I would be like, I feel like you guys are just killing time right now. I think that's what would irritate me.
About like being in the world or watching the show?
Watching the show.
Oh, okay.
That would irritate
Really?
me.
People love that line.
With cost, it's like, yeah, cost, and then they just moved on, you know? And so, like, that was like, yeah, okay, that's like a funny tick that you kind of have to say as a character in that moment. And then you kind of think about it and you're like, whatever, I'm just gonna move on. I felt like that was more relatable than being like, yeah, cost, haha, redundant and repetitive. Oh, let's like spend 5 minutes talking about how redundant and repetitive this is. That irritates me.
It's repetitive and redundant. It's repetitive and redundant. Ruchi, she hates it. She hates Gilmore Girls. Just kidding.
I think that is what irritated me about Gilmore Girls in general. Well, because also I haven't watched it enough to, you know, feel the warmth of the characters.
Yeah.
And I know that there is warmth there because you talk about it so much, but I just haven't put in the time and investment to feel that way. So all I feel is irritation.
To be fair, that's also how I felt about the show before I started watching it seriously. Like when it was just airing on WB or CW, and I would catch glimpses of it, I would be like, these ladies are annoying as hell. But then I actually started watching it and I was like, oh, they're lovable.
Yeah, because I understand that the lovable moments are not the viral moments. It's like the witty one-liners is what gets the most attention when you're trying to promote a show to new watchers. So I get that. It's just that those one-liners haven't actually made me want to go deeper into the show to find the heartwarming moments.
So fair. Very fair. Okay, the last parallel that I noticed was the scene where Geneviève comes to these two people that are standing there, and one guy's holding a bull by the reins, and the two of them are fighting about the inclusion of the bull on stage. So I will play you the scene from Étoile, and then I will play you another scene from Gilmore Girls. Okay.
I'm so excited.
Okay. Wait, can you hear this?
All right, guys, talk to me. What's happening?
This man tells me that no one can move in front of the bull while he's on stage. It's a bull, and no one on stage can be wearing red. It could charge when it says red. And my lead soprano's costume is red. I would change that, unless you don't like your lead soprano. She sings an Act 3 aria in front of the bull.
Can you change the costume?
It's too late to change the costume. No one in the first 3 rows should wear red either. And the curtain goes up in 4 hours. Not if it's red.
So can you restage the scene?
Okay, so that's one scene.
I
And
love
then
that scene.
tell me. Yeah, me too. And then the scene from Gilmore Girls.
I am headman in charge of flowers.
I just do what I'm told.
I want you to stop. I'm trying to
I don't
explain
take
it to
orders
you.
from
Do you
you.
speak English? Are you listening to me?
I'm not-
What took you?
Sorry, I got here as quickly as I could. Hi, Kurt.
Do not address me as a scoundrel.
I'm just doing my job.
What's going on?
Am I or am I not the headman in charge of floral deliveries?
Yes, and one of the few men I know who would proudly declare that fact.
I'm just doing my job.
Stop saying that.
This has to do with flowers we ordered?
Flowers we did not order.
I'm just doing my job.
Say that one more time and I'm going to punch your nose. The variation will still lead to a punch on the
Do you see the parallel? I thought it was like the woman like walks into these two men just like bickering over something and she's like, what? And they're like, the flowers or like the bull, and the other guy's like, I don't want to deal with this, and he's like, but my bull, and he's like, I don't care, I don't want to deal with this, and he's like, but the bull can't see red, and then it's like the flowers, and he's like, I'm the head man in charge of flowers, and he's like, but she has to sign for the flowers, I want to sign for yeah. Okay.
I guess because I hadn't seen that scene before, so I didn't really see the parallels, the Gilmore Girls.
Oh, okay.
I was expecting to see a bull, honestly.
Oh no. Okay.
But yeah, I think after you explained it, I can see it. It's a very parallel structure of like two guys talking about pointless things, and then this woman comes in and is like, who is actually in charge, and she's like, what's going on? And then just like moves on.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to the bull in Étoile?
I think we never saw it actually on stage, which I was hoping to see.
Yeah, I don't think we ever got a resolution to the problem either.
No. I wonder what they did, just not wear red?
Yeah. And no one in the first 3 rows should be wearing red either. I laughed at that. I was like, dude, how is this not in the fine print when you rented the bull in the first place?
So funny.
Okay, well, going back to Étoile, so the show ends with Nicholas coming back from the hospital, and Cheyenne, who hears that Nicholas is back and is very disappointed that Nicholas is back because she actually really did want to become art director, is saying, you're back. We'll see. So that was very ominous. What are your predictions for what happens next?
I think Cheyenne will want to stay in New York as a dancer. I don't know if that's in her power or not, but maybe Jack can pull some strings to keep her there. But I definitely don't think she wants to go. I don't think she wants to go back to Paris, and I don't think Geneviève wants her in Paris. So I think Cheyenne will stay in New York. It seems like Tobias wants to stay in Paris because he's like, Paris changed me. And now he got a boo.
And what about Mishi?
Oh, please bring that poor girl back to New York. She does not want to be in Paris. Oh, although she got a boo now too.
True. I think Mishi will come around to Paris. I think season 2 will be about her redemption arc, and I think she will start growing a spine and like actually having those hard conversations with her parents. And I think she will make it in Paris.
I like that. I like that. One thing I didn't like was that I thought it was really refreshing that this show had barely any romance in it for most of the episodes. And I didn't like that the resolution of like 4 of the major characters, or the end, I guess like the end of the show for 4 of the major characters in the show were all about romance.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was the couples at the end were Gael and Jack's sister Quinn, the conductor. Then it was Jack and Cheyenne were seen kissing at the end of the episode.
And we find out that they had a history 5 years ago.
Oh, we knew that.
When did we know that? Okay, maybe I missed that.
Yeah, I think they had mentioned it at some point, or like referenced it at some point earlier in the season. I think when Cheyenne had sex on his couch or something, I think that's kind of when they kind of talked about it. And then Jack was like, trust me, you don't want to go down that route. And then you have a lot of guys, and yeah. So I think they had referenced it.
Okay.
Then who is any other couples? Mishi.
Tobias and Gabon.
Yes, Tobias and
And-
Gabon, Mishi and her dude.
Yeah.
Monday
Timeo.
Night Man. He didn't come back.
Monday Night Man. Yeah, but basically all the major characters, the very last thing we see of them is like their romance or their romantic life. And I
Yeah.
was like, why? Like, the whole show was barely about this. Why is this the last thing we see? It should be a side plot like it was for the whole show.
I totally feel that way. I felt like at the end it was like, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you.
Yeah.
Pair. It's like, what? Why? Yeah, but I think I do want to see Cheyenne be the art director. I honestly felt a little baited by Nicholas dying and then not dying and then
Me too. Like,
don't want him to
coma, but then he's fine. But then he's in bad coma, but then he's fine.
yeah. Oh, it's just a Dusseldorf coma. Oh, actually, it's a 2011 coma. But now he's back and he's like jumping up and everything. And yeah, that was like fun.
Yeah. Episode 5, in 3 different conversations, characters referenced different sleeping pills that they were taking.
I didn't realize that.
So at first it's in the American or the Metropolitan Ballet Theater, and the female ballerinas are like, oh, like, I take melatonin every single night. And the other girl's like, girl, I take trazodone every night. And then the other girl's like, I always do Benadryl and white wine. So that's one conversation. And then when the old people and Cheyenne's mom and Mishi are at the river and they're like fishing and stuff, someone's like, I don't remember what they said, like something Demerol or something, like they were talking about needing some pill to go to sleep, and I was like, oh, that's another reference. And then in the same episode, we see Kelly Bishop, Jack's mom, and she's like, I need a Klonopin. And I was like, whoa, like everyone's talking about sleeping pills.
I do remember the Klonopin comment because I think that's just like the type of character that she is, even in Gilmore Girls. But what did you do any research on why that was?
I think it was just like a fun bit that they wanted to include in an episode where everyone's just talking about sleeping pills. I don't know.
Internationalization. Sleeping pills be everywhere.
Yep. Oh, when did you clock that Tobias and Gabon were going to romantically entangle?
Like the first time that they danced together.
What? Really?
Yeah, because they got super close to each other, and I was like, great, now kiss. And then they didn't, and I was like, what? And then the second time that it happened, they also got really close, and I was like, now kiss. And it didn't happen. And then I think they got a little bit closer, though, the second time around. And then it showed Tobias talking to Jonathan Groff, being like breaking up, even though they didn't have a relationship in the first place. And then I was like, oh, that's why they didn't kiss, because Tobias thought that he was in a relationship to this man who is now engaged. And
We haven't seen in over a year.
yeah. And then after that, then the third time, I was like, okay, now kiss. And then it still didn't happen. And then I think at the very end, then they kissed. I was like, finally, jeez.
Nice. I think the first time it happened, I was like, oh, is this a thing? And then I completely forgot about it until episode 5. I wrote down, Gabon pursuing friendship with Tobias is interesting. I feel like it's more than sucking up. Romance? Question mark.
Hell yes.
So perceptive, Shalini.
It's Pride Month, bitches.
Okay.
I think I was more surprised that Jack was straight. So actually, yeah, in the beginning.
Really?
Yeah, in the beginning when they were talking about Gael, Cheyenne was like, oh, we have to bring back Gael. And then I think they were talking about how Gael basically had a lot of sexual escapades. And then even Jack was like, yeah, even me, or something like that. And then I think now I realize that he was referencing the relationship that Gael had with his sister. But at the time, I was like, okay, so Jack is at least bi, it seems, maybe. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed when he was straight.
That's funny. I don't think I thought he was gay ever, but I did like I liked how, I guess this is kind of changing the subject, but while we're talking about Jack, I really liked how much respect he showed towards Cheyenne to everyone else too. When the choreographer came up to Jack and he was like, Cheyenne's being ridiculous. She's made us listen to this piece 3 hours long. She's questioning all of my decisions, each and every single one. And then he's not like, oh, Cheyenne, like, be more reasonable or something. He's like, well, she's earned the right to question your decisions, you know? Like, he always defended her, which I thought was really sweet.
That is true. I do think Jack was a really good leader. And actually there was one point where his parents were like, "Oh, Jack, you know, you don't have a musical bone in your body, but you're a good leader." I was like, "Oh, Jack." I feel like that must have been actually very heartbreaking for him to love music so much, but to not have that talent in himself. And so I'm glad that he found it in a different way, though.
Oh, yeah. I thought he was a really good leader too. And especially, I first thought that when his first reaction to Susu being there was not to like kick her out or fire the mom. That was never even a question. He was just like, oh, should I let her into class or not? And then he did. It was so sweet.
Although he was super drunk. It was like 2 a.m. and he was really drunk from the whatever event there was. And then he was like, bring Susu in for class tomorrow. I was like, aw. And then he remembered to do the proper paperwork the next day.
He's a big ol' softie. Do you think in season 2, this is just a thought that occurred to me, if he and Cheyenne pursue a romantic relationship, do you think Geneviève will like turn into this villain character because he like stole her lead Étoile for Ballet and also like replaced Geneviève romantically with the Étoile? I think there's gonna be some sort of falling out.
I think there's gotta be. I think my prediction is that they're gonna start season 2 with Nicholas in the ground.
Whoa, that would be crazy.
Yeah, and then Cheyenne will be like, I think Cheyenne and Jack will kind of have a somewhat of a romantic relationship, and then for some reason, I don't think Jack is gonna pick Cheyenne for art director, and then she's gonna get pissed and go back to France or something.
I could see that happening. That's a good prediction. That's a good prediction. I think if Nicholas does die off screen, that would be very, very on brand for Amy and Dan to do that in their show, because they like basically never show character. I was surprised they even showed him having that heart attack or whatever, or like entering the coma. I don't know what happened to him. But yeah, they just show like someone's fine, and then the next scene suddenly they're not fine, but they don't show like what happens usually.
Ooh, so maybe my theory continue.
I could totally see that.
Excellent. Great. Anyway, should we rate?
All right. Yeah.
Rate-toi.
Rate-toi.
It's a
What would
visual
you
joke.
rate-toi this show-toi?
Oh my god.
Oh, the correct pronunciation is Retoile, actually.
Étoile.
And show-toi.
Ratatouille.
Oh no. Oh no.
Let's see, what would I rate this? Yeah, I think I would give it an 8, 8.5. I did really like it. I like the fact that it was loosely based on events that did actually happen, where there was actually a ballet swap. I liked all the characters. I think I would dock it some points because of the whole C storyline thing. Definitely were wide gaps between certain characters, were to the point that I just forgot about them completely. And then when they came up, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. But I did really like that it did make me want to go to the ballet. And overall, I thought it was a really good watch, and I'll probably watch season 2.
Nice. I think I would also give it an 8. I came into this conversation thinking 7.5, but I think I will give it an 8 because we've had such a great discussion today. There's so much to talk about with the show, and the creators have made such a rich world of eccentric characters. I just wanted to be in the world. I want to be in the dance rehearsals and at the theater and in Paris and in New York. It just made me want to be in it, which I think is a very special quality in TV shows. And yeah, I fell in love with the characters, and I'm very excited that we're getting a season 2. So yeah, 8 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah. It really makes you feel like a ballet dancer.
Yeah, I can definitely touch my toes at any given moment.
Okay. Bingy progressy.
Binge progressi.
What are you binging?
While my sister mostly watches, I'm watching Survivor 42, which is from several seasons ago, but one of the people from that season is going to be on Survivor 50 coming up. So my sister's been binging it, so I've, like, as I make dinner or whatever, I've been watching a little bit of it.
Is Survivor 50 like Jeopardy Masters or like Survivor Masters where all of the previous contestants come back?
I think so. I don't know if all of them are. It's very possible that all of them are, but I just know of several past contestants that will be on it.
Okay. Well, I kind of gave away mine. I've been watching Jeopardy Masters.
Oh, so basically we've been watching the same show. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I started watching Jeopardy. I actually don't normally watch Jeopardy, but I follow it on Instagram. And then I started seeing a lot of this like Masters reels and content and everything. So I think Jeopardy Masters finale was June 5th, and the winner was Yogesh Raut.
Oh.
Yeah, so there was basically
Represent.
the way they did it was they did the semifinals, which consisted of the top 4 players, and from the semifinals they eliminated 1. And then the final game was two Jeopardy games that were between the 3 top contestants, which was Victoria Gross, Yogesh Raut, and Juveria Zahir. So we had 2 South Asians in the Jeopardy Masters finale. It was super exciting. Okay, spoiler alert for Jeopardy Masters. So if you haven't seen Jeopardy Masters yet in 2025, skip over this part. But basically what happened in the finals is they did 2 games, right? So after the first game, Juveria had a negative score, so she didn't even participate in Final Jeopardy. Yogesh bet everything on Final Jeopardy and got the last question wrong, so he lost everything that he won in that game. And Victoria Gross was the only one who actually came in with money. She got like 14,000 points. And then they started, so it's like the final score is like your game 1 plus game 2 score. So basically they started game 2 with only Victoria having 14,000 points. And then both Juveria and Yogesh got daily doubles where they went all in on the daily doubles. It was a true daily double. And they both did it, and they both doubled their score, adding like 14,000, 15,000 points to their score. And then in the final Jeopardy, I think they all got it right. But Juveria basically came in with like 20,000 points to Final Jeopardy and then bet just enough to beat Victoria's score, even with the game 1 points added to Victoria's score, which was crazy because Victoria was uncontested in the semifinal. So she was like, she got first place in all of the semifinal games, and then in the final game, she got 3rd place. It was insane.
Quickest to rise, quickest to fall.
Yeah, very exciting. How do you say thank you in French?
Merci. Merci pour yapping with us.
Merci d'avoir bavardé avec nous.
Yeah.
Merci d'avoir bavardé avec nous.
Oh, she slowed down. Thanks for yapping with us. If you loved this episode, have some hot takes we missed, or if you've got a show you're dying for us to binge next, follow us on socials. We're at Binge Yap Repeat.
Until next time, happy binging!